So I'm finally back with another video. I know it's been about 2.5 months since I've made a video for you guys, but the reason why is because there's been a lot of personal things that have been going on in my life that I haven't been able to devote time to my trains or making videos. But I'm back. I'm excited to be presenting this video to you guys, and I will be releasing a couple more videos in the coming weeks, so be sure to look out for those. So I promised you guys a video on this next locomotive. This is a very unique locomotive. It's the Pennsylvania Q2. When I bought this locomotive from Don over at Northeast Trains, I did a video on that store almost a year ago, and he presented this engine to me. It was kind of hidden on the shelf, and he presented it to me, and I thought it was really cool, and he gave me a good price for it. And you know, the reason why I bought it is because I am always looking for very unique locomotives. This engine is very unique. It's non-articulated, but what makes it unique is its wheel configuration. It has a 4-4-6-4 wheel configuration, and again, it's non-articulated. Just to give you a brief history on this locomotive, I've actually never heard of this engine until I actually saw it in Northeast Trains, so I had to do some research on it. This engine was not around for very long. They were built by the Altoona Works in Pennsylvania. There were 26 that were built. They were built between 1944 and 1945. They were the largest non-articulated engines, and they were 124 feet in length. They weighed 619,100 pounds. The drivers were 69 inches in diameter. They had 100,816 pounds of tractive effort. The cylinder horsepower was 7,987. They were very successful on the Pennsy system. They were 78% more powerful than the current locos that the Pennsylvania had running on in their rosters at the time. They claimed that this locomotive could pull 125 cars at a speed of 50 miles per hour. Unfortunately, this locomotive did not last very long. By 1951, they were all retired because they were getting replaced by the diesels. So this engine only ran for about 6 or 7 years on Pensy's system. So more about this locomotive in particular. This engine that you see before you was made by MTH. This is a PS2 Protosound 2 locomotive. This engine was announced in one of their the year 2000 catalog, and it was released in stores in the year 2001. So the details of this engine, the locomotive itself weighs just under 10.5 pounds, and the tender weighs 5 pounds. So it's just under 16 pounds in total weight. The length of the locomotive is 32 inches, coupler to coupler. So a little history about this particular locomotive. I bought this secondhand, of course, but the gentleman that owned this locomotive did not have a layout big enough to run it. This requires an 072 curve, and he had a much smaller layout, so he had this engine and he never used it on his layout. So basically this engine is brand new. I don't think it's ever been run, but it is 21 years old. So when I did pick it up, I ran it on the layout, and unfortunately the traction tires were, because of its age, the traction tires fell off because they lost their elasticity, being 21 years old. So I had to bring it back to Don, and he replaced the traction tires for me free of charge, which was nice. There's some screws underneath the bottom of the locomotive that you can unscrew, and you insert grease into the gears on each of the drive wheels. So I went ahead and greased it and oiled up all the parts that needed to be oiled. because I know this engine had been sitting for quite a number of years. And this engine, I'm really happy with it. It runs really nice. Just to kind of go over the details, it's got some nice work in the front. It's got you know, the Keystone logo directly underneath the bell, which is directly underneath the headlight. It's got a scale coupler in the front. Then, of course, you've got the metal grab iron that's separately applied running the whole length of the locomotive. There's some nice piping down below the firebox. And of course, you've got that cool, unique wheel configuration, the 4-4-6-4 wheel configuration. Continuing up top, you have the red roof in the over the cab. The roof hatch over it does not open. And then you've got the whistle right behind that, right in front of that. And then in the middle are the pop-up valves, the steam release valves, and of course the smokestack up front. I like the cab interior. You've got the nice crew figures on either side. And going back to the tender, of course, you've got the coal load in the front. This tender has got the 4-axle trucks, 2 sets of 4-axle trucks, so it's got the long wheelbase. And in the back it's all red in the back. And then one of the cool things about this engine, which I particularly like, is the doghouse in the back. The doghouse was kind of like what the guy in the caboose did. He looked out the back of the locomotive to see any derailments or hot boxes, any smoke, anything to alert the engineer if we had to make an emergency stop. And in the back, there's 2 marker lights, and in the middle, there's a light that comes on when you put the locomotive in reverse. One small feature with this locomotive that I read in the manual is that the drawbar actually has 2 holes in it. So the rear hole on the very end is for operating the locomotive on the layout for running it around with the minimum curve of 0.72. But the hole in front of it is you can place the pin from the tender in that hole if you want to display this locomotive for display purposes. And what it does is it pulls the tender in closer to the locomotive, making it more prototypical looking when you have it on display. So I thought that was kind of cool. And now we will go ahead and start it up, and so you can see this run around the layout. So enjoy.
Well, let's get started.